Resilience, the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties. My name's Mano Shanmuganathan. That's a very long surname. I've been in Northern Ireland now for 10 years. I'm a consultant paediatric neurosurgeon. While I've been here, I've had all kinds of names. I've been known as hopefully the slide will come up. One of my names, Dr. Shanmuganathan. Wee Sammy. And also Mr. Shane McGuinness. Brilliant. So I've been here as a consultant neurosurgeon. This is what brought me over to the island. What was brilliant about my job is that I look after people. I look after people in their good, their bad, their worst scenarios. So I've learned a lot about resilience in manners for myself personally, but those around me as well. And I'll allude to that as well. But back in 2019, I got involved on a TV show on Channel 4. I was the team doctor, I was a medical doctor on the island, a different kind of island. What happened was they put 12 of us on the island, and this was with Bear Grylls, and we had to survive. We were thrown on this island, we were dropped off in the middle of the Pacific in a Panamanian island, which is about 5 by 3 kilometers. Super hot, super crazy environment, no food, no water, no shelter, nothing. And in doing so, you start to then realize what you can and can't do. So in doing that, I learned about mad things. I learned as a boy from North London, I had everything I needed in life. All of a sudden, I had nothing. None of us had anything. So then when you're on this island, not able to eat, not able to drink, not able to find water, not able to keep warm, what you could do. So in amongst it, you learn about the difficulties and how to go about standing up against it. So what were these difficulties? Dehydration. You had no water. So you had, well actually that's slight light, you were given 5 litres of water when you were dumped on the island, and then you were let off. That was it. So this is now 30, 40 degrees C. It's roasting hot. Everything on that island transpired to damage and harm you. The heat, the sandflies, the things that bit you, and the picture in the corner there, the death apple. Yes, it kills you if you eat it. When you're hungry and looking, you will find it and you will want to go for it there. You'll want that, you'll need it. The snakes, those snakes bite you, you die. Everything around in that environment was looking to kill you, looking to harm you, looking to hurt you. And when you're in that environment, you're quickly realizing what you have and what you do not have. You become incredibly grateful for that thought of that dairy milk bar that you had a few days earlier. And when you don't have it, you're dreaming. You're not dreaming about anything luxurious. You're just dreaming about a bar of chocolate, a bit of toast with butter. This was the kind of environment we were in, but we were on this island for 35 days. The weird thing about what they did on this show was they decided to put £100,000 on the island. They flew it in parachutes and then landed it in different parts. And then you saw the way society came into play. So you have no ability to use this money, but greed came into play. So all of a sudden, £10,000 on the other side of the island, people running, people pelting off to get it, but not being that bothered about actually having that team mentality and that ability to look after each other, to share, to care for each other, to be around each other. And you saw the way society, you saw the way life, the way we can all be. Because all of a sudden you're thinking it's not about the shelter, it's not about the fishing that we have to do, not about the things we have to do to survive, but it's about that money. And it's amazing how that concept, even on this island miles away, can still affect. So what I realized when I was out there was that this island had abundance. Now, they didn't want us to die on this island, yeah? This is a TV show, yeah? It's on Netflix, so they want people to come and watch it. Maybe they did, I don't know. But, within the island, what they realized was that they would make sure that there was going to be some aspect of food. So on the island, they had planted things around the way. So they knew that most islands will have something. So within it, It was mad. You'd walk around and you tried to smell. Your sense of smell was heightened. Just everything around you just was heightened in that way. I discovered water. Water, if you imagine the lady on this desk is pouring that beautiful glass of water. Hold that up. Look at that. Doesn't that look amazing? If I tell you the water that I had and we found was in a dank, dark, horrible, like puddle type thing, yeah? It had snakes running through it, it had insects, it was brown, it was manky, it looked nasty. But what we realized was that this was fresh water, fresh-ish. So what we had to do is when we discovered this, you had to filter it. You had to heat this water. The way we filtered the water was actually with our socks and our trousers. Inverted, pouring water through into another point in a pot that we had got from like the island with all these different bits of plastic or metal or any kind of container that you could find, and you used it. You filtered that water, you heated that water. How did we make fire? Fire is amazing, and honestly, I have gone complete fire starter now these days, because I'm so appreciative of this basic thing that we have that provides us warmth, provides us the ability to eat, provides us the ability to drink cleaner water. We did that by using our brains, using our minds to say, right, those pair of glasses, we took the glasses, we looked at the sun, we saw the sun was roasting, we saw the dryness around us, we took that and we did quite basically took it and magnified and set fire to this tinder. When the tinder set fire, I cannot tell you what the feeling was like. It was roaring. It was like, "Rah, we have fire!" We were all jumping around going crazy. It was mad because it is primeval. It is basic, but it is fundamental. And without it, none of the other things could have come into play. So when we had fire, then we can heat water. When we can heat water, we can drink water. When we can drink water, we can have life. And we knew that was then the next phases of what we were going to do. Amazing, absolutely amazing. But when we were in this environment, then we realized there's things around us. There's the water, there's the sea in abundance. There is the fish. Boy from North London, don't know how to fish. But everything was washed up. So these old nets got washed up. All of the plastic, all of the pollution got washed up. So we started to make and build things. So I repaired these nets and then went out and learned to fish. And when you could learn to fish and find things, you started to then have food. In the nets, one time, left the nets out, a shark, a nurse shark about this big, came into my nets. I didn't know what to do, so I threw it onto the beach. We all had knives and machetes. Sorry for the vegetarians, but we had to eat, and it was very important here. So we had to kill the shark. We killed the shark, and then we were able to eat. We were able to eat and then able to survive. So the basic nature of what we were able to do came into play. The pineapple. There, anyone know where a pineapple grows from? Up here or down here? Down here. The pineapple is from down here. And the sense of smell when you go past it and you just smell something is different. Something is different in this train of land where all of the black palm, everything is trying to hurt you. You come into it and you see it. When you see it and you smell it, wow. So you come back to your island, you come back to the guys when you found it. You cut up the pineapple and you taste it. And you've not had any sugar. You had nothing processed in this entire time period. You take that bit of sugar from a pineapple. A pineapple that we can spend £1 in Tesco's. But for us, it was like the food of life. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. The sea provided us oysters, lobster. It gave us in abundance. And that experience came, for me, coming back, it was an appreciation of the basic of what we have, the basic of what we take for granted, the basic of our health. As a doctor involved in those around health and all that it comes with, you realize that you go from being absolutely massive to looking like an African prisoner of war. I lost near enough 3 and a bit stone in that time period. But interestingly, as the doctor doing blood pressures, I was hypertensive. My blood pressure normalized. I came back and had my cholesterol done. My cholesterol pre-island in the high 9s, coming back in the low 3s. So that kind of switch from Western, from what we are used to going basic, primitive, you realise it had a massive effect on your body, and for the better as well. So within all of this, I very quickly realised about this term resilience in terms of how do I deal with difficulties? How do I deal with the things around me, and how do I move on from there? So at this point, I'm going to ask a couple of my friends to come up here. So everyone, this is Graham and Andreen. Okay. Say hello to them. Come on. Gary, can I take that second mic? That's all right. Yeah, is that okay? So there's a picture up here, and there's 3 of us. Who are the 3 of us up there?
That's you, Dr. Mano, with our oldest boy Lewis on your left and our son Callum in your arms.
Yeah. How did we first meet?
That wee boy there in your arms is Callum, and Callum's like 4 weeks old, and Callum's not very well, and you came onto our lives then.
And what was wrong with Callum?
So since Callum was born, Callum was quite unwell as a baby, and we knew something wasn't right. After having our first child, Lewis, we knew that there was a difference and that things weren't as what they would seem with a newborn. A lot of sickness, a lot of unsettledness, and back and forward to the doctor a good few times, and a couple of hospital visits and things, and being told reflux and kids, wind and things like that there. But it turned out after 4 weeks, and after persistence, Callum was diagnosed with a brain tumour, and we took him to Antrim Hospital May Day weekend. Callum was born in April. May Day weekend, took him to Antrim Hospital. We both were persistent. We weren't leaving until we had answers, and that night we were relayed to intensive care, and we met Dr. Mano in the early hours the next morning.
And what was the kind of information that we were talking about?
We were told in Antrim that Callum had a growth in his brain, and then we got into intensive care in the Royal. I think one of your colleagues came and did a tap in his fluid to release some pressure for him, and yeah, he was critical at the time. And then you came the next morning, and we got a plan together of what was going to happen and what was going to happen moving forward. You were quite positive about it all, and we were totally blindsided. We hadn't a clue what was going on. We were still in our clothes from 2 days ago, as you explained what was going to happen, and you were quite confident that we could do something for Callum, that we could do something. We would just need a plan and think about it at the time.
And can you remember what the scan showed? Can you remember any aspects of it?
Yeah, we took Callum went for a scan the next day. Oh no, I think it was the same day. I didn't roll into one. Callum went for a scan in the morning, and he had a shunt put in place at the same time. And you brought really round a big TV screen, and we could see this growth in Callum's head.
So from my point of view, when this was all going on, I remember looking at the scans and thinking, yeah, Callum is so small. I think he can do something, but Callum is so small. So the process that happens in amongst us, I don't just decide we should do something. We as a group think like a multidisciplinary meeting. We come together and say, this is the circumstance in front of us. What should we do? And within this, and Callum being so small, the overall feeling was he was too small to do something at that stage. Maybe wait. And then in that time period, Callum's abnormality started to get bigger. And it started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And when you go to that point and you go and discuss at the meetings, I, from my point of view, will never forget the day where I was at the meeting, and the discussion is really apparent. If you go and do an operation on a very small child, they could die. They could die on the table. Is that acceptable because you tried to do it? Or is it that you should be in fear and not to do something? So in that process, many of my colleagues felt that we shouldn't do something. And for some of us, that's quite hard. Because I remember vividly walking away from that meeting thinking, I can't do that. And I remember walking towards a children's hospital to come to see you two, to say, I've been told that we shouldn't do anything. I don't think we should.
I wasn't at the hospital at that time, I was with Liz, but you were there and you talked to Mano that
I
time.
remember you coming and speaking to me, and I calmed my arms, and you spoke to me about what you were told, you were advised. Your words were, if you don't do something, Callum will die. If you do something, Callum might die. I remember looking at you and saying at the time, give him a chance. And you did it.
So within that process, I rang up a couple of my mentors where I trained as well, and in my mind, to not try is to give up and not do. And therefore, the outcome is self-fulfilling. So within that, we agreed, we went through the agreement of going on and doing something. And we went on and operated on Callum. Tell me about your experience of the operation or the day, or...
I think you told us, I don't know if it was yourself that told us, or we were speaking to other parents at the time. Yes, it was Kellyanne and Garth. They had a child who was going through their own troubles with a heart defect, and they said, get off site, go away from the hospital, don't stay, because he said, I don't know how long it's going to take. He had to go over to the adults in the morning for a procedure, and if that didn't go well, you wouldn't be able to operate it. So we were in tenterhooks waiting for the phone call to say, yes, the first stage is okay, we can move on to the next stage. So we got off site. We had Lewis at home. He was completely, but he knew that he had a baby brother who he couldn't see because he was unwell. He'd not turned 3 at the time, or just coming 3, and he was mad at castles at the time. So we took him to Carrick Castle that day. We off site, picked Lewis up at mum and dad's, and went to Carrick Castle, and we're waiting for your phone call the whole day.
And we did the operation, and we managed to get Callum through the operation. I knew at that stage that this was going to be something not... Tumours can be aggressive, not aggressive. This had the feeling of something that was going to be aggressive. And I relayed that information to you down the line. What was your journey with Callum after that then?
I remember coming into the ICU that day after the operation and seeing Callum and his eyes were open. You warned us he might be asleep for a long time, we don't know whenever he will wake up. He was a 4-week-old baby, you know, like he was so tiny, and we walked into the ICU and his eyes were open, and he grabbed, there's a picture, grabbed William's finger, and he was awake, you know. So just to see his eyes and to see him a little bit responsive was a huge, yeah.
Just relieved.
So we were relieved, and I remember thanking you so much about what you did and the risk that you taken, and Callum was still with us, you know. So I just remember relief, total relief that day, that night, yeah.
I remember trying to give you a hug after. I think basically everybody was up.
He's a big man, he's a big man, you know.
Big accent.
So after all of that, I had to give you the diagnosis of an aggressive brain tumour. Okay, so this was an aggressive brain tumour, and we knew that there was going to be a difficult journey ahead. Could you maybe talk us through a bit of what that journey was?
Well, to be honest, it's a bit surreal. We didn't realise how much trouble Callum was in until you handed us off to Dr. McCarthy. Callum's an oncologist. But from the experience we had with you, we knew Callum was in the best possible hands. And to be honest, Callum took his chemo like a champion. We were warned that Callum was going to be in and out of hospital with temperatures and feeding issues, but Callum never missed a beat. Callum just kept on eating, he kept on thriving. He was just like a normal baby, just had he went for chemo every few weeks, you know, and it just gave us an incredible appreciation of life. We couldn't go and do the normal things like sit in a coffee shop and have a cup of coffee, so we found places like Castle Gardens where you could sit outside and get Callum's bottle and go to the park.
We were doing COVID things before COVID.
We were bubbling before it was called the bubble. So.
And after that, he was going through treatment strategies, we went through various aspects of it there, and then we had a particular scan. What was your memory of that scan?
Is this the last one? Yeah. So on the 21st of June 2021, I was in work, and Callum was due a routine MRI, and we did have routine MRIs every 6 months, yeah. So it was always an anxious time coming up to an MRI because you didn't know what was going to happen or what it was going to show, and every time we were quite lucky. So on the 21st, Graham was in night shift, and I had Callum, took him up to Belfast because we both work in Belfast, and met at the Royal and swapped Callum over. So I went on to work, Graham took him into the hospital, and I said, just mention that he was sick last night, because he was up during the night. He was up before I went to bed, and he was sick in his bed, and I took him downstairs, and then he started playing about, and I thought, God, he's going to bed again, he's going to make up Lewis, you know, he's in too much good form here. Put him back to bed again and just said to Graham, just mention that he's been sick, you know, so that's fine. Graham took him for the MRI, and then called into the clinic and said, just wanted to let you know, Callum was sick last night, but he seems to be in good form. And Joanne, the nurse, says, I think you'd be quicker going through A&E, just go down, they'll have a look at the scan, and then they'll be able to see it straight away, what the crack is, what's happening. So that was fine. Graham had phoned me. Graham had been in night shift, so Graham was up. He had been awake the whole time. So I went down to my principal and I said, look, Graham's in the hospital here with Callum, we're waiting to see the scan results. I may have to go and let Graham go to bed. And after lunchtime, Graham phoned and says, I'm doing something. So I left work. I worked a couple of minutes from the Royal, get into A&E. Graham was in the room with Callum, and Mano was already in the room and had a surgery booked for the next morning.
So we ended up talking about surgery, ended up going through aspects of it, and what changed?
He did have the surgery.
Yeah, that one. No, it's art.
Yeah.
So art, the lot, yeah.
Yeah, so he did have the surgery at that point. Yeah, I was just scanning ahead there. He did have the surgery at that point and went through another course of chemo and things. And at this time I was pregnant with Zach, our third child. So he was born in September, and then fast forward to March. Yes, so this is the scan we're talking about. March 2022, yeah. Callum had another scan, and again this scan showed something. This time it was somewhere different. So his scans previously had been on the side of his head. This time it was in the back of his brainstem, isn't that right? And Mano had come into the room and chatted and talked and said, look, I know where the tumour is, but I can't get it all. I don't think I could get it all. You weren't as confident as what previous times. And we were basically told if you couldn't get it all, we might not be able to proceed with treatment.
Yeah.
And we knew the effects that the surgery in June had on Callum, and we didn't get the same wee boy back. He was still Callum, but he had lost the power to walk. Well, he wasn't walking, but he had lost the power to move for himself. He had lost the power to feed. He had built all that back up again, and he was getting there. But we knew if he went for another surgery, he might not be able to do anything for himself. We had to weigh up Callum's quality of life to being selfish and wanting Callum with us. So we talked to Mano and we made the decision, like, I don't think it's a good idea to operate.
So for me as a surgeon, I've already told you that I was always about what can I do, what can I do, what can I do. I came to a point where I realised I can do something, but I don't know that we'll be able to get out of what I do. Callum had been in a good place after the first operation. The second operation had taken a hit on him for sure. The third operation, having the conversation with you guys, I said to you, I think I can do something, but I don't feel I can do I don't feel I can get him through this without this being really, really harmful to him. And my memory, and this is where we come back to this idea of the ability to understand, the ability to deal with the difficulties that lie before us. The family, these two guys looked at me and said, we don't want you to do any more. We want memories with Callum. We want to make memories with Callum. And for me, I have to say, I was blown away, because your mentality is to do, to get through. There's the abnormality, do it. And then you two looked at me squarely and said, we want memories. So what happened from there?
We were devastated with the decision we had to make. Well, I think we knew that it was the right decision. From March last year to May, when
We were never in the house.
Callum passed, we were never in the house. We were out with our 3 boys and just made the most of it. And to be honest, the most beautiful time of our lives, I think, honestly say. Callum was just a champion. He never complained. He a few ups and downs, but everybody was involved with Callum's care in the hospital. We're second to none. How they looked after him. Any issues, we stood in the hospital and treated. We were out the next day, and we were on another adventure. We booked Airbnbs in Port Bantry up the North Coast. There's a biker group called the Lone Brotherhood got involved with Callum and donated money. We were able to do something else because we weren't working at the time. And
we had family holidays.
Family holidays with Andy's parents and then with my parents, and we just made the most of the time that we had. We're very grateful for it. Yeah, we're like Callum was 3 when he passed, but it was the most incredible 3 years of our lives, and it changed how we oriented life.
I always remember, like you said, let's get him to his first Christmas. This was May. First Christmas, he would be 6 months, and we said, well, let's get to Christmas. Christmas be a big milestone, let's get to Christmas. And then he phoned us on his first birthday, which was a Sunday, during lockdown. And we made it to his first birthday. So we got 3 birthdays. And we didn't know if we were going to get a Christmas present.
Yeah, that was amazing. It was amazing. And the way you guys went about it was incredible. Yes, Callum did die, Callum did pass away. The family had the most incredible time with him and the memory of him and his funeral and everything from that onwards was incredible. But this is not where the story ends. Callum's older brother Lewis, how old was he when Callum?
He turned 6 a day after Callum was buried.
And how would you describe Lewis?
I don't think God.
Lewis is a character. Lewis is outgoing, Lewis is sociable, Lewis is chatty. Lewis just absolutely adored Dr. Mano because he knows Bear Grylls, and since this is Lewis in his first day at P1, and since Lewis has met Dr. Mano, he wants to be a doctor. Yes, Lewis always wants to be, I want to be like Dr. Mano.
Let's move on from that. What is Lewis doing though? What did Lewis decide to do
Lewis,
over?
His birthday was a couple of days after Callum had passed. My dad was picking him up from school because he wanted to, like, from the week that Callum passed to he was buried, Lewis wanted to go to school. We kept everything as normal as possible. My dad was driving him home from school and he says, "What do you want for your birthday?" He said, "You haven't told me what you want." He goes, "Maybe I would like a Switch for your house, Grandad." And Dad says, "No, your mummy will not allow it. You already have one." I goes, "Well then, I want money for charity to help boys and girls." So my dad told us this, and we thought, right, we have to give Lewis a focus. We have to get him to do something. He has talked about it before. So we talked about Lewis, and we said Lewis set a challenge. And during the summer, Callum passed in May last year, and during the summer, Lewis took on a challenge to walk 100 miles during the summer.
And how much money was Lewis trying to raise?
£250.
And did he complete his 100 miles?
He did. He completed 126. Was it 100? 193, yeah.
And how much money did he raise?
Just over 16,000.
Amazing. A 6-year-old boy decides to do this. And doing this, he's going to affect all of us in the way he went about doing things. I had the privilege of going out with the guys and walking as well, which was an incredible day for me. And we reminisced and we talked about things. And Lewis was in great form. Zach was loving being in the buggy, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
In doing all of this and what Lewis decided to do, what came out afterwards?
So a friend of ours had already set up a big C foundation. He totally spoils the boys, and I told him it was Christmas before Callum passed, and I said, "Do not be bringing Christmas presents to this house. Don't be buying the boys anything, they don't need it." And I was right, okay. So he came with an envelope, and he had set up the big C foundation. And at the time, we had the 3 boys. We knew that Callum needed a lot of help. I said, "I don't have time for this. And we've got enough things to go on with." And anyway, so we decided then after Callum passed away, Lewis is going to raise this money for the Big C Foundation. This is going to be for Callum. And since then, we have taken a lot more to do with the Big C Foundation. And the Big C Foundation was set up to support all the other charities that help children who are affected with cancer in Northern Ireland. So instead of having a spin-a-thon for the Cancer Fund for Children and then having another fundraiser for the hospital, we thought, why don't we just pull all the money together and then every so often dish out so everybody gets the benefit of it, and that's the idea behind it.
Brilliant, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, from my point of view, as the doctor on the other side of this, and then having my relation with you guys, I feel kind of how we go about this journey is incredible. So summing up really, we have a boy, a young child with an aggressive, horrible, malignant brain tumour. We have resilience shown in difficulties of a situation. For me as a doctor, for you as a family, Lewis, everyone else. The journey goes on. The journey went on. Callum sadly passed away. And then from that sadness, there still was hope. From that sadness, there was still a journey to go on ahead. And that journey continues. And that journey continues in how we are. So for me as a doctor who has done all these crazy things, it takes a 6-year-old boy to just remind me why we do what we do and what we can go on to do. So thank you very much.